This film essay examines Hirokazu Kurita's 2018 film Shoplifters. This film is a cinematic critique of how poverty, morality, and non-blood related family challenge Japan's social systems. Through realism, mise-en-scene, and emotionally intimate framing, Kurita argues that found families built through care and shared survival are more ethical and human than the state-defined family structures enforced by the law. By contrasting the warmth of the Shibata household with the cold hand of state intervention, the film reveals how social institutions punish poverty while ignoring genuine households. Kurita opens the film with the wide shot of a grocery store, washed in muted, neutral tones. The robbery is in plain sight and natural. As the young boy Shota steals food, it shows how normalized poverty has become for them. Additionally, the use of mise-en-scene aligns with Corrigan and White, who explain that color, lighting, and space shape emotional meaning. As the film continues, the duo finds their way in an alley where they encounter the little girl Yuri. In the film, when Shota returns without shampoo, he says, "I forgot to grab shampoo." His father figure replies, "It's fine, we'll steal it next time." This exchange reveals how routine survival acts bond them more deeply than blood ties. Fernandez Diaz calls this type of care invisible family, a family formed not by biology, but shared by emotional labor and a mutual protection. This is seen in the scene where the entire family is sitting on the floor, bowls in their hands, knees touching, crowded around a small table, yet the room is filled with so much warmth and love. The low, warm lighting gives the meal a sense of intimacy. The tight framing also forces the audience to confront the family circle, both physically and emotionally. Yamamoto looks at the poverty as a shared condition, not a source of shame or something to be afraid of. Yamamoto writes that Japanese cinematic realism exposes the social contradiction between the daily life. In Shoplifters, every person in the family contributes to the household. The labor is another aspect that structures their found family. In Poverty Engendered Through the Lens of Shoplifters, Karatsu writes, "Work supports how the economic conditions shape labor inequality." In the film, we can see each person tries to integrate themselves in society by getting a job, but the government and the societal norms still do not acknowledge them as a whole. The teenage daughter Aki is a sexual performer. This is one example of the emotionally exploitive jobs because of the limited financial opportunities. In the next scene, Shota and Yuri enter a store where they're ready to steal some fishing supplies. The scene is filled with fluorescent lighting, narrow aisles, and shelves that compress the characters. As seen in this clip, the camera stays at her level as Yuri crouches down and unplugs the theft device. This camera shot grounds the audience with the Yuri and Shota's perspective and normalizes the situation. As the two flee the scene, Diaz would say this shared emotion and survival labor feels less like running and more like a bonding. The next scene is where the family realizes the little girl Yuri has actually been abandoned and missing for months by her family while she's with them. Ryan McAvoy in The Ones Left Behind would say, "The big state systems and government actually fail to represent and acknowledge these populations because they don't provide resources for those in poverty. It shows the stigma and systemic neglect that forces these groups to find survival strategies." Throughout the film, we can see one strategy is chosen family. The washing scene shows this when Yuri and Aki discover they share the same cuts, so they're able to connect on a deeper level. within their chosen family. In the scene, the camera stays close and follows each character's face with tight framing, low lighting, and it shows how the two characters are the most important ones in the room. As they see the same scars, it shows how a shared trauma creates family beyond blood. These invisible families are formed through emotional recognition and vulnerability, not by blood. A happy moment in the film is when the family takes a beach trip. In this clip, the grandma and Aki talk about what it's like to have a chosen family. In the next scene, the camera lingers on the grandma's gaze. She watches the family, and it becomes a full circle moment where she can appreciate everything. As the camera stays on her, we see her gratitude, nostalgia, and her recognition that this moment might not last forever. As the family jumps and is filled with excitement, the grandma also realizes that they've now become a real family. They've become a family that's built on care and love and a real bond. This scene is an example of Kurida's realist style, where quiet observation shows emotional truth. Unfortunately, the scene doesn't last long. A group of officials and police officers are soon interviewing Yuri and ready to take her into custody. As the state interrogates Yuri, they destroy these bonds of family. In the film, the authorities don't ask whether the family is caring, loving, or safe, but they only see that they don't have any blood-related connection, no paperwork, they've stolen goods, and they're really just a number within the system. Diaz describes these families as invisible because the state intervenes and penalizes them. However, in this scene, you can see the family's emotional bond never breaks. This chosen family that's not built on blood can learn to survive in ways that the state can't even control. After the police investigation and interrogation, the family is forced to be separated. In the beginning of this scene, Shota refuses to look at his father. He's hurt, confused, and told to forget his family, but it's all real emotions. In this clip, Shota's stillness completely contrasts with Osamu's emotional vulnerability. In What is Japanese Cinema, Ria Amit would say this is how Japanese cinema is oriented and deeply rooted within its state ideology. In this scene, Shota will be taken into state custody and leaving everything that he knows behind. You will see how the bus will pull off and Osamu will break into a run, chasing super desperately down the street as he yearns to have this feeling and this relationship back with Sota. Up until this point, Shota refuses to call Osamu dad because he thinks Osamu only uses him for labor or shoplifting. But when his family gets separated, Shota understands that love is proven through action. Everything changes when he calls him dad. As the film ends, the audience is met with a morally ambiguous situation when Yuri is sent back to her original family. In the long, clean shot, you can see Yuri is small and isolated within the frame. This balcony scene is so important because it symbolizes the barrier between Yuri and the world from when she once navigated it freely with her other family. Phillips and Stringer argue that Japanese cinema built its emotional power through moral ambiguity. Legally, Yuri's supposed to be where she's meant to be with her parents, but emotionally, she's more abandoned than ever. This shot shows how the state might enforce a legal definition of family, but in reality, it's a non-blood related families that are built on care, love, and support.